I'm Ron D. Haas. I'm the president of Covenant Eyes, and we're going to do something a little fun today. We have a guest who is involved in a number of different resources that I think our viewers will be very interested in. I'd like to welcome Kelley the Kitchen Kop. Hello, Kelley.
Well, thanks for having me.
Nice
Hi.
to have you here today. Kelley, and the website we'll put in our comments is kelleythekitchenkop.com, spelled with K's instead of a C for cop. But the resource pages on your site are tremendous. I'm just really impressed with what I find on your site. How long have you been doing this?
I've been blogging for 10 years now.
Wow,
It's crazy.
for 10 years. What got you started?
I had a girlfriend who was here one day when I was telling her about the South Beach diet that I was about to start. And she sort of hinted that it maybe was not the best thing to do. And instead, she pointed me to a website that totally changed my life. It's called the Weston A. Price Foundation. So it's westonaprice.org. And I'm still, involved with this foundation. I go to the conference every year. I have a lot of friends there. And they have taught me, they really got me on my way. They taught me a lot of what I know now. And of course, I've taken it, even beyond. I kind of kept exploring from there, but they teach about traditional foods and how healing they can be. And I went on then to try to teach people on my blog how doable it is. It's not, overwhelming to me anymore. I mean, granted, I've, been doing this a long time, but I like to help my readers, especially those just starting out, who I call rookies, real food rookies. I like to help them figure out how they can bring in healthy foods that still taste great. Their kids love them. And believe me, I have suffered through a lot of trial and errors over the years. I have what I call food flops on the site, a lot of them.
Yeah.
I show people the ways that I've had some bombs here and there.
Well, it's I find your site. I only discovered your site recently, and I'm just really interested in it because you have so many resources, most of which, at least at the beginning of your website, have to do with kitchen things. You have a book right now, as soon as you go to your website, that you're promoting, and it is called Buy This, Not That. And so what is the this and that of that book?
Well,
what's that book all
actually
about?
what that is that is my real food ingredient guide. And on the homepage of my blog, if you sign up there, I can send it to you for free. And what that is a 20-page guide of ingredients that are really easy to switch out. So like, instead of this food, just buy this instead, and it tastes just as great. You can exchange that ingredient in recipes and no one will ever notice. And so that's actually what that is the whole first chapter of my book that's called Real Food for Rookies.
Okay, well, I will sign up for that because I do want to
Great.
see what that is. We'll get into a different topic in a little bit, but I'll tell you one thing that my mom used to make me take was cod liver oil, and
Yeah.
that is the nastiest tasting stuff. I really I cringe at the thought of tasting it again, but you told me before we started this that you're going to convince me that I ought to take cod liver oil. So
yeah.
tell me why that is.
So we take cod liver oil around here, and some of us are better about it than others. My husband, who was in the Marines, is, military-like in everything he does. So he takes it every day without fail. I take it a few times a week. The kids less than that. But it does taste better these days, first of all. A little better. I mean, you're still going to probably not love it. But there's tricks to it. I shoot it back, and then I drink some hot coffee and eat something, and it's really not bad. The kind I take is a cinnamon flavor.
Can you get it in a capsule?
You can, but I take the liquid. I don't like swallowing capsules so much. The other thing is you can't get as much in a capsule. So it's really better if you can just shoot the liquid back and, tough through it. It's better than probably what you went through with cancer. You probably had to do a lot of things that you didn't love with cancer. And so this is better than that. And what's great about it is it's got vitamin A and D in it in higher levels than you can get in most other foods or supplements. Some foods you can, but it's hard. A lot of people aren't eating enough fish where they can get those omega-3s, which are so important. In our diet, there's so many foods that are full of omega-6s. And if you, like nuts and even good things like olive oil and avocado oil, and if you have too many omega-6s in your diet, by the way, a lot of people are getting a lot of omega-6s in junk foods. That's those are not the good forms of getting it. But you need to have a balance of omega-6 and omega-3s. And if you don't, it throws off things in your body and you have inflammation, and even it can cause anxiety. So I call it my all-natural chill pill.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that impresses me about your site, again, we're here with Kelley the Kitchen Kop, and one of the things that impresses me about your site is that most of what I see is kind of reasonable stuff. It's not really wacky stuff. It just makes sense without any complications. In fact, you sort of seem to try to simplify rather than make things more complicated. Do you have a favorite recipe that you might talk about for a moment?
A couple come to mind. First of all, tonight for dinner, I'm making chicken strips, which is my youngest child's favorite. And, so that's a normal food that every kid likes. And you make it just like you would, like anybody else would. You just swap out, for better ingredients. So I have a recipe for that on my blog. But also, another favorite of mine, just because it's so simple, is my 5-minute homemade mayonnaise. Because it's the mayonnaise that you get at the store, unless you get, certain kinds that they do have available now. There's 2 kinds that I'll buy at the store, in a pinch. But most of them are nowhere near as good as the kind I can make at home, not only taste-wise, but even the ingredients are so much better. It takes 5 minutes. So there's a lot of recipes that call for that mayonnaise, and you're just, kind of, shoot up the nutritional value when you make things yourself.
Yeah, that's great. And that recipe is available on your website then?
Yep. Yeah. You can find all that stuff by Googling just Kitchen Kop mayo or Kitchen Kop chicken strips.
Okay, yep. And of course, on your website, there is one of the tabs on your website is recipes. And I went there, and there are all kinds of recipes. So that's interesting. But another tab on your website was a tab up near the top on the upper right was shop. And so I went there just to see what other resources you have, and I'm intrigued by some of the resources that you have on there. One of which is Covenant Eyes, by the way, and we'll get to that in a second. But there was another one called Defender Shield, and when about 10 years ago, I was diagnosed at Mayo Clinic with what they called an incurable terminal lymphoma, and that. Fortunately, I went to MD Anderson then, where I got into a clinical trial, and I've been totally cured now, cancer-free for 9 years, which is great, especially for a terminal, incurable cancer. But I'm quite convinced that the cause of my cancer, I had a tumor right here on the temple of my forehead, and it was exactly where I was putting my cell phone. And so I was using my cell phone a lot those days, and I'm quite convinced that was the cause of my cancer. That was the only tumor I had.
Wow.
So I'm pretty convinced. But this Defender Shield looks like it actually can protect against those the radiation.
Right. I love my Defender Shield products. I have for my laptop, I have like a laptop shield that just sits under my computer. For the iPad, there's a case. For the iPhone, there's cases, and it gives me peace of mind because especially our kids, in their developing brains, they're on their devices way too much, as much as we try to limit it as parents, and so this gives me a lot of peace of mind.
I'm intrigued by it. I think I would recommend it sight unseen without even having tried it, because I really do believe that was the cause of my cancer. So
now, when you go to their website, you'll be even more convinced. They have a lot of really good evidence of how it works.
Excellent. Yep. And so on that shop, then you go to the shop button on your website, and there is the link to Covenant Eyes. So you use Covenant Eyes in your family, I take it. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely. That's the other thing that gives me peace of mind, because, well, as I have a post on my blog where I talk about how I've tried other ones and they're terrible. Either, too much slips through, because, I think, some things might always slip through a little, but too much slips through. Plus, everything you do, every time you turn around, the kids are asking for you to put the password in again. So you pretty much have to, you go insane, like, Mom, I need the password. Mom, I need the password. It just drives you crazy. So Covenant Eyes is a lot better in that way as well, that everything just seems a lot more smooth. The other thing I love is that I've had issues before, like where I had to reinstall something or whatever, and I would just call Covenant Eyes, and everyone's super nice, and they just walk you through it.
We have world-class customer service, I'll tell you that.
Definitely.
Our
You
customer
really do.
service people are fantastic. They really
Yeah.
are. And so you have decided also to become what we call an affiliate. It's interesting.
Yep.
A lot of our affiliates are people who have either come through the issue of pornography or they're fighting pornography in one sense or another. But we also have affiliates like you who are just promote healthy living, good parenting resources, and so on.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
tell us about your experience being a Covenant Eyes affiliate.
Well, it just works out really easy. I just have a link that I put in my blog posts or on Facebook when I'm talking about it on there, or on Instagram if I'm talking about it on there. And then, same with, I have other affiliate relationships as well, like with Defender Shield and with Amazon. So if people click on those links to buy, then, I get like a little percentage,
Yeah.
which helps. Obviously, I'm sure you're aware how much it costs to keep a blog going and all the hosting fees and all that stuff. So that helps toward that.
Yeah, and we're really glad to help people who are doing that. And so that's why we have the affiliate program, is so that we can help other organizations as well. And so if you are listening and you haven't yet signed up for Covenant Eyes, if you're listening to this, rather than go right to Covenant Eyes, if you go to KelleyTheKitchenKop.com and click on that shop button and then go through that site to click to sign up for Covenant Eyes, that'll also help Kelley the Kitchen Kop. And at the same time, you'll see the other resources that Kelley has. So it's great. It's a great resource. So I want to just thank you for what you've done. I think it really is. It's an interesting site. I encourage our viewers to visit it. What is your since you have other resources, have you kind of defined a mission for your website?
Well, I've been kind of working on it more lately, trying to sort of hone in on what, I'm really trying to do. My goal really is to empower people to feed their families well and to find natural remedies to feel better, because it's sad and amazing how many people don't feel good these days, whether they have digestive issues or they're dealing with big issues like you did with cancer, or they have autoimmune diseases. And a lot of them, I believe, are because of how bad our food supply has gotten. If you're not aware of what you're buying, more careful. And not just that, but we have toxins in the environment. So I try to empower everyone, and parents especially, to be more aware of what is going in their kids' bodies, and also to question everything, because you can't just assume that everything is safe at the grocery store, because it is far from safe. My kids get sick of me because I'm like, we are not getting that food. That is poison. Mm-hmm. And they think I'm being dramatic, but I'm really not. I mean, there's some so-called food in the grocery store that should never enter your kids' bodies, and it's just like I said before, it's so easy to just switch it out for something better. Mm-hmm. Now so that's kind of my goal.
The word organic, does that necessarily mean it's good, or are there other things that are not organic that are okay?
Well, there is a lot of organic junk food out there. Mm-hmm. And I have to say that once in a while, I buy this organic junk food. But I try not to very often. I try to just use whole foods and, cook from scratch. But because I have a house full of teenagers, I do once in a while buy what I call organic junk food. But cooking from scratch is so easy, and that's doable. I want people to know that. But as far as the organic word, there are some times that organic is really important. And when it comes to produce, a good guide is to go by, you can, search for this online. You can go by the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. And that's a website that will tell you which produce it's really important to buy organic because it's so highly sprayed, and which ones it's safe to buy non-organic because it's not a highly sprayed crop anyway. So the goal with organic and not organic is just avoiding things like chemicals and preservatives and fake colors and, fake flavors and all this stuff. That's what you're trying to do when you buy organic.
I used to not look at oranges, whether or not they were organic, until I had cancer. And then I started looking at ingredients, and you know, you pick up a bag of oranges, and you would expect the ingredients to be oranges. But the ingredients that were listed, and I think they've stopped listing these because maybe they're not required to. But here in the ingredients list were 3 chemicals, and I looked them up, all 3 carcinogenic. And they're sprayed with this as a preservative. But you know, I'm looking at this, and sometimes we use orange zest, you know, that you zest the peel and so on.
Right.
And I'm thinking, man, that is not good. So I don't buy anything but organic oranges anymore.
Yeah, citrus is one of them that you always should buy organic.
Yep.
Because citrus is sprayed quite a bit.
What about GMO? You know, that's kind of a catchphrase right now. If it's genetically modified, does that necessarily mean that it's absolutely bad for you?
Yeah, terrible.
Yep.
Genetically modified is bad. So what happens with that? First of all, if you buy organic, then you know that there's no GMOs. So that's another reason I watch what I'm buying. Mm-hmm. But something that's genetically modified means that they went in and changed the actual genetics of the seed so that they can spray chemicals on it like crazy, mm-hmm. and it will kill the weeds, but not the plant, you know, the crop that they're growing.
That's right.
So why would I want that in my kid's body? Something that has been sprayed so much that, you know, something that's, first of all, genetically changed is just weird. Mm-hmm. But then to have something sprayed that much, you know, that's just, no, not going there.
It definitely makes you wonder, doesn't it? It really does.
It's just scary. And people don't know this. People think that, sometimes in the beginning, I think people think that people like me are just freaks, you know, and I admit I'm kind of a freak about some things, but, you know, but there's good reasons behind why I'm so careful about what I buy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I want to thank our viewers, and I just want to thank you for joining us on this Facebook Live. Thank you, Kelley, for joining us. Really, it's been a pleasure having you, and it has been intriguing, and I hope our viewers have had a little taste of your kitchen, a little taste of your website that will intrigue them enough to go visit it. And I encourage you to visit Kelley the Kitchen Kop. So, Kelley, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you to our audience for joining us as well. We'll see you next week.